Alright guys, in this video I'm going to go over the even problems for your Unit 3 Quiz 1 Study Guide. The odd problems already have the answers at the bottom, so you can check your work on those if you like. And you can use these even ones I'm going over to help you know how to do the odds if you weren't able to figure it out on your own. Okay. Alright, so let's begin here. The first question says 1 through 7. It actually should say 1 through 8. Determine if it's a function or not. Okay, so on number 2, this would not be a function. And the reason it's not a function is because we have a repeated value in the x column, which means that 3 has two different outputs. A function is a relationship between two variables where each input has only one output. And so we can see here that 3 has two different outputs. It has 7 and 2 as an output, so that's a no. Right? For number 6, if you want to determine if something is a function by looking at its graph, we use something called the vertical line test. That just means that if you draw a vertical line and it only touches the graph once, then yes, it's a function. But if you draw a vertical line and it touches the graph more than once, then the answer is no, it's not a function. Okay, so that's for 6 and 8. Numbers 9 through 11, some vocabulary questions, and I would just encourage you guys to look in your notes for those. You can get this definition here in 3.1, and you can get these two answers in 3.3 notes. For number 10, I'll let you just look it up. But for 11, I will tell you that there are reflections, I'll abbreviate that, translations, and then there's expansions and compressions, which go together as a single type of transformation. All right, so that's for 9, 10, and 11 there. Let's jump down to number 12. So on number 12, I give you a function, and then I say find f of 3. Now, whenever you see that, that means you're going to plug the 3 in for x. And then you just simplify. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then 9 plus 5 is 14. So the final answer there would be 14. Now, contrast that with number 14. Number 14 looks kind of similar, but it is a different type of question. This one, no, the difference is here. Notice the difference in these two things. For this one, you're plugging 3 in for x. But for this one, the way that you handle these types is you're going to replace the whole k parentheses x parentheses. You're going to replace that whole thing with 5. And then from there, you're going to solve for x. So in this case, to solve for x, you would just add 3 on both sides. And so that would be my final answer there. Okay? So that is number 14. 16 and 18 are function combinations. We looked at that in lesson 3.2. So if you want to do function combinations, I like to start by writing what they give me. And then I replace the g of n, and the h of n with what they equal. G of n is equal to n plus 3. So I'm going to replace g of n with n plus 3. H of n is equal to n to the third power plus 1. So I can replace h of n with n to the third power plus 1. From there, we're going to simplify. The first step is to distribute if you can. In this case, we can. So that means I'm going to multiply the 3 into the brackets there. So that would be 3n to the third plus 3. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to combine the like terms. So there's no like terms for n, because in order to be a like term, it has to have the same letter, but also the same exponent. This one has an n on it, but it has a cube on it, a third power. And so because of that, we can't combine the n's together. But the 3 and the 3, those are just numbers. We can put those together. 3 plus 3 is 6. and then the other two terms don't combine with anything. So we'll just bring them down as is. And when you write your answers for these, typically you want the one with the highest power to come first and then work your way down after that. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 18. Just really a repeat problem. So we want to start off by writing what they give us to find. They want me to find 2 times g of n plus 3 times h of n. So I'm going to replace the g and the h with what they equal. G of n is equal to n minus 5. H of n is equal to 3n plus 5. Once again, distribute first. In this case, I get to distribute for both of them because they both had numbers in the front. And then we combine like terms. Now in this case, the 2n does have a like term. It's like this one because they both have an n to the first power. So I can put 2n and 9n together to get 11n. We also have negative 10 and positive 15. Those are both just numbers, so we can combine those to get 5. All right, and that's function combinations. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 20. And this is like what we learned in school last class. Whenever you have a negative on the inside, that means that it is a reflection across the y-axis. And for that, I would just have you guys look at your notes from lesson 3.3 on that. Whenever you have a negative outside, that is a reflection across the x-axis. Okay. Another way that that question can be answered is by looking at a graph. So in this case, for number 22, we have this blue line. And the directions for this question are going to seem confusing on your test. They're going to say, you can look at the 3.3 notes to see the example of it, but they're going to say, write g of x in terms of f of x. Now I think that those directions are a little bit confusing, so I told you guys to think of it this way. What would you do to the solid line to get the dotted line? So in this case, what would I have to do to this solid line to get this dotted line down here? Well, I would have to flip it upside down. Or another way of saying that is reflect it across the x-axis. And whenever you're reflecting across the x-axis, that means you have a negative on the outside. And so our answer is D, because that's where the negative is on the outside. Okay, and that will do it for today. And there's your odd answers, so you guys can check the odd problems on your own there. We'll see you guys in class. Have a good weekend.